Greetings, diners, and welcome to another edition of the Collapse Cafe here on the Doomstead Diner. And I am sitting outside here in a beautiful Anchorage, Alaska. And it's a lovely sunny day, temperature around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, pretty warm. And I am testing out my latest gadget, a swing arm for my EV wheelchair, which I putter around in as I do my thing here in the gulag for the old and crippled, which is me, right? Okay, what am I here for today? Just to talk a little bit about what is going on with the oil situation. The International Energy Administration, or something along those lines, IEA, has made a prediction that peak demand of oil will arrive in 2029. And peak oil, as it's known, has been predicted many times over these last 20 years or so. And right now, the date when it actually occurred in terms of production, peak oil production, was in November of 2018. So far, the production for that month and that year has not been surpassed. And if that continues in the long term, if it's never surpassed again, then it will go down in history as the turning point for industrial civilization. And it's looking better as far as that being the final date. Given that if the demand does not rise, then the consumption will not rise from where it currently is, which is below that 2018 figure. So, while the IEA has called for that, the Saudi princes in Saudi Arabia, who are very hopeful, if you will, that oil will continue to sell in barrels and barrels and barrels, have refuted that claim and say, no, peak oil will not arrive until 2040, 2045, a long ways away, okay, relatively speaking. Now, whether there's actually enough oil that can be accessed at a cheap enough price for that to even occur, even if they wanted it to, probably not. But if they could spend any amount of money, well, there's still a lot of oil in the ground. And you could, in theory, dig up a lot more. But at the same time, the world is attempting to go to renewables and electrification, changing over our method of powering our civilization to non-carbon related sources, because the carbon being burned in fossil fuels goes into the atmosphere, which then causes global warming, or heating, or cooking, or, well, these days it's getting pretty darn hot out there, although not so hot up here. All right, in the current world, this is the place to be, and I am very happy to be in Alaska because I really do not like hot weather, and even 70 degrees. When we start to go over 70, I don't like it. I can sit outside here. 20 degrees Fahrenheit in my short sleeves. I am very acclimated to the weather. But when it gets hot, I sweat easily, and I'm very uncomfortable, so I don't like it. And don't need air conditioning, which is nice, so that saves a lot of power. But of course, we do use a lot of power for heat, and we use natural gas for that. And there are a lot of problems with our local natural gas supply. Uh, we started running short of it last winter, as in our region, the Cook Inlet, where we access our gas. And there's a lot of concern up here about whether we're going to have enough gas for next winter and where we're going to get it. Because being so far from everybody else, if we can't access it locally, we would have to try shipping in liquefied natural gas, and that would raise prices and also make us very dependent on the lower 48 and for our regular energy needs. So they're working on it. There's talk about building a pipeline and other things. Uh, we'll just have to see what happens with that as time goes by. But let's get back to the peak oil subject. Uh, if indeed this occurs, and like I say, it's still somewhat of an open question, what are the reasons for it? Well, they would have you believe that it's because we're making such wonderful progress into electrification. Our motor fleet, cars and trucks being electrified will reduce the amount of gas and diesel that we use, and so we'll need less oil, right? Well, there really hasn't been that much electrification of the cars. Yeah, they're out there on the road. There are more than there were a few years ago, for sure. But in terms of replacing our entire fleet, we're a long ways away from that. And sales on locally on Teslas and the electrics that the other big three motor companies are making have not been that great. And in addition, our latest administration, the Biden administration, has dropped 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs, which come in a whole lot cheaper and in many respects are much better than the locally made ones. But for Americans, well, you can't get one. Or if you want to get one, you're going to have to really pay through the nose to do it. So this goes against the idea that we should be electrifying, right? If we want to encourage electrification, then we should have access to the best and cheapest electric vehicles that are out there. But we don't, okay, because we're in a trade war with the Chinese. And we're also in a little more warmer war with the Russians over Ukraine. And that's all about energy also, because it's about the transit of energy across Ukraine through the pipelines to Europe. So that is another aspect of things that is going on. How is it going to go? Which way is it going to go? Well, it's not because of electrification that we're going to have a decrease in demand. It's because we are, in my opinion, moving very soon into recession. And with recession comes demand destruction, because less trucks move, less cars move, people don't take vacations, people don't go to work, all that good stuff that burns gasoline and other stuff. And how deep our recession will be is going to be the arbiter of how much oil gets used over the next few years. As it moves down, our standard of living will drop with it, and whether it will ever return is a big question. Probably not. And the long-term prognosis is pretty bad for our civilization. Um, how long it's going to take for us to get to the point where we have no lights and we don't have cars moving around, uh, well, I won't make a prediction on that, but I don't think it's going to be all that long. Um, I may not make it to see that. I figure I might have another 10 years, but we'll see. I do think we're going to see a lot of problems, maybe short of the lights being off all the time, and short of the cars not rolling around. But I think we're going to see some very significant effects to our way of life as time goes by over this next decade. A big part of that is our geopolitical situation, what goes on with Russia and with China, and how our elections go, who gets into office, and how they behave once they're in there. It's going to have a big effect on the migration patterns and how many people are trying to get across the border here. And it has a big effect on our homelessness situation, the number of people who are uh, not housed and often on the streets because they have filled up the shelters in many places. All these things are ongoing right now and are probably going to get worse over these next few years. So I'll talk more about that in a future episode. Right now, I'm going to end this one. I just wanted to test out the new camera, new situation. And that's all to do. This time until next time. Here on the Collapse Cafe of the Doomstead Diner. Hasta la pasta.